Good afternoon, everybody. Pigskin Pete here. Happy Thursday to everybody. Before we get started on today's subject, which you can see is the reason I believe that Clemson's offense in 2019 will be the most dominant offense in all of college football. Normally, I do a live call-in show on Thursdays. I will not be able to do that today, so I apologize. But I have some big things coming up tomorrow. So tomorrow's Friday. I have a special guest on for a recorded video. Everybody knows my man Mark Dudley. Huge Michigan fan, also a moderator on the Pigskin Pete YouTube channel. He's going to call in and we're going to do a recorded segment and talk all about Michigan football. And that's something I've been looking forward to doing for a while now. And who better to talk to about Michigan football than our very own Mark Dudley. Also, we'll be doing a live call-in show tomorrow evening or tomorrow night. We'll see. And I normally do that if I can on Fridays. I do the the live beer drinkers call-in show. And I get a good response from that. I get a lot of calls, and it seems like it's a lot of fun, and a lot of people show up for that. So I'm looking forward to at least planning on doing that as well tomorrow night. So two things to look forward to tomorrow. But while we're here today, I just want to give you the reasons why I believe that Clemson's offense, on paper anyway, has a chance to maybe be the best Clemson offense ever. That's right, I said ever. And if you're a Clemson fan out there, you could say, well, look at some of the great offenses that we've had, even just in the past 10 years. So we had the years with Taj Boyd, Sammy Watkins, DeAndre Hopkins, Andre Ellington. I mean, that was a high-flying, and they set a bunch of scoring records in the ACC, and they won a whole lot of games. I mean, all those guys are NFL studs, except for, with the exception of Taj Boyd. But so then after that, we had another couple of years there when we had Deshaun Watson, Mike Williams, Jordan Leggett, Wayne Gallman, Artavis Scott, Deion Kane, another very high-flying offense. And they scored a whole lot of points too. And, of course, Deshaun Watson was invited to New York twice and finished second twice in the Heisman running. I still believe he got robbed. He should have at least won one of those years. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So, but if you look at this team this year, if you're anybody not named Clemson, you should be very, very, very worried. This is going to be a huge problem for any defense. I don't care what defense it is. I don't care if it's the best defense in the country to deal with. The youth and talent on this team, the depth on this offense is better than I've ever seen it. Now, a lot of this is going to hinge on whether or not Trevor Lawrence can stay healthy, because we saw what happened last year. We had that scare after Kelly Bryant, withdrew from Clemson and eventually transferred after the 4-game total was up. And then the very next game against Syracuse, we had a scare. Trevor Lawrence gets knocked out of the game with a concussion. Chase Bryce comes in there and leads a heroic effort for a young guy who's never played in a big game like that to win it at the end. And if it weren't for that heroic play at the end of the game by Chase Bryce and a couple of really good defensive stands there at the end, Clemson might not have been 15-0. Hell, they might have, possibly not even made the playoffs, because they would have had a loss and the ACC was so down last year that it would have hurt their strength of record. But anyways, ifs, ands, and buts were candy and nuts, and every day would be Christmas, so we can say if till the cows come home. I do think, however, obviously Trevor Lawrence is the key to all of this, because in my opinion, he's the best quarterback in college football. That's not a knock on Tua Tagovailoa. It's not a knock on some of these other very good quarterbacks in the country. I just believe that the total package, he's the best, period. And last year, those first 4 games when he was splitting time with Kelly Bryant, and of course, even the next few games after that was sort of a learning curve for him to get used to the college game and to get used to the speed of the game and get used to the offense and just the whole thing, everything that went with it. And by the end of the season, the guy was virtually unstoppable. And what he's going to do this year is just show everybody why he's the best, and most likely will be the front runner to win the Heisman as far as quarterbacks go. But let's just look at this receiving core this year, because this is almost unfair. Now, I know there's some other teams out there that have great receiving cores every year. Of course, Oklahoma, you can put on that list. Alabama is right up there. Ohio State's always got an elite wide receiver core. I mean, there's a bunch of teams, really. Those are just a few. But this wide receiver core here, again, is almost unfair. So let's look at it. You've got Justin Ross, who everybody, if you didn't know who he was before the national title game last year, you know who he is now. He's coming back. He's going to be a true sophomore, and the guy's a freak. I believe he's, if not the best wide receiver in the country, he's definitely up there in the top 2 or 3. So, tell me somebody that's better. I promise they're not. Then you have another guy who I consider to be one of the best wide receivers in the country, who's a nightmare for anybody to deal with, T. Higgins, another young guy. Then you have a veteran coming back. He'll be a junior, Amari Rodgers. Now, Amari Rodgers he was already a handful to deal with. This guy's a wide receiver, but he also runs like a running back. You can put him all over the field. You can even put him at running back if you really want to, run him out of the backfield. You can put him in the slot. You can put him out wide. He returns kicks. I mean, when he gets the ball in his hands, he's almost unstoppable. So Amari Rodgers is an amazing compliment, and I believe that what they're going to do with Amari Rodgers is he'll take over that primary slot position for where Hunter Renfrow was. But they'll move him all around. So I do expect maybe some of these other younger receivers that have been sitting on the bench for the past couple of years, maybe even one of the Sweeney boys, may take over at least some part-time work at that slot position. But Amari Rodgers will probably be there for the majority of the time. Then we have Darian Kendricks coming back. I mean, he's being overshadowed a little bit by some of these other world-class receivers and Justin Ross and T. Higgins and Amari Rodgers, but this guy is this guy's no slouch. I think he's going to have a great year this year too, especially since a lot of the attention from the defense is going to go to Justin Ross and T. Higgins and Amari Rodgers. It's going to open the doors for a guy like Darian Kendrick to come in there. Then we have 2 true freshmen coming in, and if you know anything about Clemson's offense or their wide receiver core, we do call them wide receiver university for a reason. Is that, most of these guys do not sit around their freshman year on the bench. They get a lot of playing time as true freshmen. And Joe Ngata, he might be the one I'm most excited about. And this is no disrespect to any of the other young guys. But he's the kid from California. And the biggest comparison that you hear about him is a mix between a Mike Williams and a Justin Ross. And if you're going to build a perfect receiver in a laboratory, Justin Ross and Mike Williams combined is a scary, scary prospect. And so I'm really looking forward to him. Also, Frank Ladson, another big-time, highly recruited receiver from everybody in the country. I think he's out of the Miami area, out of Florida anyway. So, I mean, if you just look at this, Ross, Higgins, Rodgers, Ngata, Ladson, Kendrick, and that doesn't even exclude some of the other players that have been there that are very good players too. If you have these 5 guys that I just named on the field at one time as a 5 receiver set, I mean, how do you defend that? Because you can't double team any of them. If you double team Ross, it's going to leave Higgins and the rest of these guys open, and vice versa. And then, so here's what we'll get to next. The running back core. So last year, obviously everybody knows who Travis Etienne. He's the household name as far as Clemson running backs go. But last year we still had a couple of veterans, Feaster and Choice. Now, Choice is off to the NFL this year. And so Etienne's going to obviously still hold that front spot in the running back core. Feaster's still going to be there. He'll be a junior. And he's very versatile as far as he can do it all, too. He's a power back, a speed back, and he also catches the ball out of the backfield. And then the guy last year who was a late pickup in the recruiting process, a late signee, I guess is the way I'm trying to say it, Lynn J. Dixon. Now, there might not be a lot of people outside of Clemson, South Carolina, or outside of the Clemson fan base that really know who Lynn J. Dixon is, but you're going to learn this year. Because if it weren't for the fact that we had a Travis Etienne, if it weren't for the fact that we had an Adam Choice and a Tavion Feaster, I mean, 3 very, very capable NFL backs last year, then Lynn J. Dixon would have gotten a lot more touches. But when Lynn J. Dixon did play last year, he was phenomenal. He's every bit as good, in my opinion, as Etienne. And so the prospect of having Etienne, Feaster, and Lynn J. Dixon all in this running back core this year is phenomenal. This is the best stretch of running backs, and the deepest stretch of running backs that Clemson's had in a long time. Believe me, I know. And so here's the problem if you're any defense out there. So you have to respect the run with Etienne and Feaster and Dixon. So you've got to have somebody on the line. You got to crowd the box, and that leads all these elite wide receivers on an island. And if you double cover one of these receivers, then Etienne and Feaster and Dixon are just going to eat your lunch all day long. I don't know how any defense out there is going to defend this. Again, as long as Trevor Lawrence is healthy, and he, again, I've just went through the elite wide receiver core. I've just gone through the running back core, and the linchpin and the firecracker that sets this all off is, of course, Trevor Longhair Lawrence, the golden boy. Again, what do you do? How do you defend this? Good luck. So my prediction is, I don't know what the predictions in Vegas or what the pundits out there, and listen, I take what most of these pundits say with a grain of salt anyway. People like, what's his face, Joel Klatt. I mean, this guy's the biggest homer in mainstream media. If it's not a Big 10 or a Big 12 school, he's going to put you down. He hates the South. He hates the ACC. He hates the SEC, period. He won't give them the respect they deserve until they win it all, which at that point you look like a moron if you don't do it. But anyway, I don't know what the pundits are going to be saying about who's going to be the best offense next year. Everyone just goes into the season assuming that Oklahoma and Lincoln Riley, they're going to be the best, they're going to be the best, they're going to be the best. I'm not so sure. Listen, here's my bold prediction. I'm predicting that Clemson this year will average 45 points a game. That's average. Now, they might have averaged close to that last year, so I might go up to 50 because they had a couple of games close to 80 points last year. They were blowing everybody out by 3 and 4 touchdowns in the second half of the year. And everyone said, well, that's because they're playing weak ACC teams, and all they did was go and blow out Notre Dame in the playoff and then go blow out Alabama in the playoff too. So it wasn't that. It's just that they were starting to click, and all those guys are coming back, minus Hunter Renfrow. So I think they'll score an average of 50 points a game. I don't see any way they can be stopped. I really don't. Minus some sort of unfortunate injury to Trevor Lawrence, this team is going to be unstoppable on offense. I'll do a whole nother video at another later date about the defense, because that's the thing that people are most worried about outside of Clemson, because of what you're seeing going on in the draft right now, is all these defensive linemen are going in the NFL. We're losing a lot. I'm losing 7 out of 11 starters on defense, but I'm not so worried about it. That's a whole nother video. I'll get into that. But go ahead and leave me your comments. What do you think about everything I said? Who are you most excited? If you're a Clemson fan, who are you most excited about seeing on this offense this year? If you're a fan of another team, Oklahoma or Alabama, go ahead and comment about how I'm wrong. We'll see. Have a great day. Pigskin Pete checking out.